Well, thank you everybody for coming to the healthcare breakout room, convened for today's career navigation support event, facilitated and run by CUNY's Alumni Activation Initiative. I am a CUNY staffer in the Office of Careers and Industry Partnerships. I'm an industry specialist with a different team at the same office as the Alumni Activation Initiative, but happy to be able to contribute and support here for this event. I have the pleasure and honor to be facilitating this conversation with Mohammed. I hope I'm answering your name correctly.
Yes.
Excellent. So to give you all a little bit of an intro on his bio and why we chose him, he is a CUNY alum, holds an associate's in liberal arts and sciences and a bachelor's degree in psychology from the College of Staten Island, achieving magna cum laude honors for both. He worked for several years at the Staten Island University Hospital and is currently studying osteopathic medicine at A.T. Still University. So I'm going to hand it over to you in a moment, Mohammed, but just so that everybody gets a sense for what we're going to be doing today, we're going to hear from Mohammed to present to us about his journey in school and career. And then we're going to move to take questions and answers from all of the students and alumni who might be in attendance today for this breakout session. And definitely encourage you to ask questions in the chat or to raise your hand and pipe up if that's what you prefer. But most important, when we do get to Q&A and you are ready to ask questions, I suggest that you turn your camera on so that we can see your face and you can keep practicing some of those networking skills that the panel in the main room was talking about today. So without further ado, Mohammed, the microphone is all yours.
Sure. I mean, thank you for the gracious introduction. Gaspar, is that how you say your name?
Gaspar, yeah.
Gaspar. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. So yeah, I'm Mohammed Islam, MD for short. So just briefly, I just want this to be just a pretty chill environment where you can ask questions and feel comfortable to ask me whatever you want. You know, I've been through this journey. I went to CUNY all my life. I love CUNY. I think it's a great choice in New York City to get a great education. So I come from Bangladesh. I'm an immigrant to start off. So I had as a child, I had a language barrier. So being an immigrant and also a person of color as well brought its challenges as well, especially during the early 2000s, post 9/11. So the reason why I'm mentioning these things is like how all these things impacted my life and how they kind of drove me towards medicine after many, many years. So around 2005, my parents decided that I should go to seminar school, Muslim seminary school, where I strictly learned Quran and about my faith and all. So I did that for about almost 10 years. I even went abroad to South Africa, where I lived in Johannesburg for 5 years. So after I came back from South Africa, I always had this yearning for medicine, and it was instilled in me, kind of planted in me, I guess, when I was a child, learning English. While I was learning English, I would attend all my mother's appointments, and I would be a translator for her. So as a child, I'm like, wow, you know, these physicians, they're remarkable. I love their ability to like help people, you know, their physical well-being, help them get better. And the challenges that my mother faced with the language barrier also kind of made me, you know, make a difference later on in my life as a future physician. But everything from going to South Africa and all that kind of deterred my path, right? It wasn't a straight linear path to medicine. So when I came back from South Africa, ultimately I had to get a GED. So when I enrolled in college, I went to BCC for my first semester and transferred over to College of Staten Island because my family had lived here. So I would have a little bit of family support. It would make my college journey easier. So Yeah, I took a lot of remediation class. I'll be fully transparent with you. For 2 years, I took like remediation math, remediation chemistry, because I had no exposure to any of the science stuff, right? Because I was abroad doing seminary stuff, right? Strictly religion. There was no science, there was no chemistry, there was no mathematics, there was no English or economics or any of that sort. Um, so for a long, yeah, for almost 2 years, I took the basics to get to a level where, because in chemistry you're gonna need a lot of math equations, a lot of math solving, so everything builds on top of each other, and I go back and I tell people like the GED the GED diploma was the thing that started it all. And I came into college like being a total imposter, like, oh, I don't know, I'm sitting with these students who've been through the system like grade K to 12, and I'm sure like they know so much more than me, and they did. Many of them did. That just ignited me to work harder, to go for tutoring, to use my resources. Every campus has resources for tutoring. It made me go to office hours, speak to professors. Talking about LinkedIn, I came in a little early and I heard about the networking, on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, after every semester, I would add all my professors on LinkedIn. Until today, professors call me, email me. They take me out to dinners and lunches, some events. They want me to come speak to their classes. So it goes a long way, and it takes a community to really, take you where you want to go. So I'm grateful that I had that community, and I still do have that community to continue, because I'm not at the prom. There's no promised land. The sky is limitless, right? So wherever you want to go in life, if you keep networking, you be a good person. You also, like, the reason I want to be here is try to help, maybe inspire someone and help someone get to where they want to go. Whether that's in healthcare or not. I'm very passionate about healthcare. Like I love like the human body, the human physiology. I just find it fascinating. Um, and just being able to care for people in their most weak moments, it's a great trust and great honor. I think in this world, there's nothing um, more rewarding to me personally than that. So you got to be very passionate above all, to go down this route, because it's many years of studying, many thousands, hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt as well. So yeah, uh, so going back to my story about moving to college in Staten Island, I did my bachelor, associates first, and then my bachelor's in psychology. Then I graduated right before COVID hit, the spring, that January of 2020, and then March 2020, the world went on lockdown. And I was still working at the hospital at the time at Staten Island University. So I was just working at the hospital and just studying for my MCAT at that time. And I applied during the COVID season. It was pretty interesting application cycle. Um, and I got in, and here I am. I'm a second year right now. I'm actually getting ready to take my boards, my step one, complex one. To become a physician in America, you need to take 3 board exams. So this is the first one after your second year. So yeah, I guess I'll open it up to anyone to ask me any questions um, regarding anything, med school, undergrad. In undergrad, I did plenty of things. There's so much resources. You just gotta really talk to your professors, go to your career department, and be honest. Like from day one, I told professors like, "Hey, I'm trying to go to med school. Like, do you have any guidance for me?" I remember my English 101 professor, the very first semester as a freshman, I told her that, and I really worked hard in her class too. I got to know her. Went to office hours. She bought me a book, and what was that book? How to go to med school and be successful in med school. You know, and then I met so many amazing professors throughout the way. I did research with some of them. I went to Morocco with another one to do a medical internship. Um, there's I did research, presented at multiple places. And then just college itself has so many different clubs and various things to do to like enhance, your education, your life ultimately. And by doing so, you're also making a vibrant CV or a resume as well, and meeting just really awesome people. So yeah, feel free to, you know, uh, talk, jump in, interrupt me.
Sure. Yeah,
I-
Mohammed, I mean that it's such an awesome story. I'm actually really happy that I was here to hear it. Um,
oh, thank you,
and I
Gaspar.
think I don't know if you all, I'm a first generation American myself, so I find it inspiring to hear it. And I'm sure several of you here are as well. And for me, some of the takeaways are your perseverance, um, and also the support that maybe you had to pursue that you didn't just have. Uh,
Mhm.
you just went out there and weren't shy about asking for help and um, asking questions and all that, much like we all are doing here today. And your networks were really key and important. So we have a question in the chat from Sue. I graduated with my BA in psychology with a concentration in clinical psychology at Hunter College during winter 2023. Do you know any jobs I could apply to in the mental health field with a BA in psychology? Thank you. So maybe while you think on that for a moment, Mohammed, I don't work in healthcare, but I do spend a lot of time learning about the labor market, and careers and what the options are out there. And what I can say is that right now, it's projected that healthcare and social assistance will be one of the fastest growing sectors and industries over the next 10 years. And, physicians or aspiring physicians, such as Mohammed, of course, but also therapists, or even, CNAs or even HHAs. And right now, I know of a colleague and friend who is completing his psychology degree, a master's degree, in order to become a therapist. And there's many nonprofits currently looking for people with that credential, with just a bachelor's degree. So that's a really good place that you are here asking that question. Mohammed, do you have any thoughts
Yeah.
on that question?
Um, yeah, no, that was good advice you gave, Gaspar. I would just add on, maybe just cold call or visit clinics and mental health facilities. If they're not hiring, they'll definitely know, or can guide you where else to look as well. Um, Pretty much like the jobs I had on Staten Island University, I had so many roles. I started off first as a volunteer. Sometimes you just got to do something for nothing, you know? Actually, it is for a greater purpose. So I started off as a volunteer in the ER department, giving out pillows to patients, warm blankets, like doing simple stuff, small things. And the nurses and doctors, they notice these things. They're like, man, this volunteer is really making a difference. And patients will see like, oh, they would literally tell the doctor who this volunteer, oh my God, like really made me feel better, you know? So doing things like that, even though they may be small, insignificant in your eye, oh, I'm not getting paid, but trust me, it will lead to something greater. So it led me to getting a job as a scribe in the ER. So I learned how to type doctor's notes, right? Which has helped me out many years down in med school now, because we have to learn to type notes, do OSCEs, and see patients as a student doctor, right? And write our own notes. And also just the medical lingo is a whole different language itself. So it gives me that leg up on other students that didn't scribe, right? And then from scribing, I went into become a medical assistant. Then I went to the patient experience liaison department to work with customer service and patient experience. So it's been a very enjoyable ride, but it started out volunteering. So my point is, don't feel shy. Like sometimes cold call, and if someone doesn't reply or they say no, and that's okay. There's so many. Till today, I actually reached out to a couple of doctors on LinkedIn. Asking him for advice, this, that, a couple of questions, no reply. And that's fine. That's totally fine. There's one doctor who I reached out a year ago. He replied 1 year later, one whole year later. So there are people who might reply to a whole year later. And we had good conversation after a whole year of, like him not replying. But yeah, just go out there and don't give up, and definitely the healthcare field is on the rise, specifically mental health. We have this huge taboo and stigma against mental health, but over time it's becoming less and less of a stigma, and we have a critical need for all sorts of mental health providers, from therapists to psychiatrists to psychologists.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Sue, I'll also send, I don't, what I can add to that is that that there are plenty of like professional associations that you could try and look up. what I might recommend to everybody here is always be reading. Just always be learning. Just, web search whatever you can, as much as you can, to dig into stuff. We have another question in the chat from Brittany. Did you find it hard at first to find any internships with no experience?
Honestly, no. There was so many things to do on campus. Like there was another program called CUNY Service Corps. I don't know if it still runs because it's maybe at that when I was graduating, I think it was like I heard word that they're running out of funding or something. But Service Corps was great. Like it matched, like let's say you were interested in finance. They would match you for a summer or winter internship or a full long semester internship with some financial firm. Or if you're interested in law, they will place you in a law firm. I was interested in healthcare. That's how I actually ended up at Staten Island University Hospital. And it happened through CUNY, through my campus. Even if that wasn't there, like I had this mindset of like, okay, I need to figure out. For me, like I came in as an imposter, right? I'm like, I'm not even sure if I can do well in college, right? Now let me start college and then let me see how I do with my grades and all, like how I perform in school. I was doing really well, even though like I felt like I don't belong there. And that gave me confidence. Like, all right, like I know to be a doctor, you gotta have really good grades, you gotta work hard. And I think I'm doing the right things. But now let me explore within the hospital, within healthcare to see if this is truly what I want. Let me go to that ER. Because we could all watch it, we could all sit here and watch Grey's Anatomy and The Resident and Doctor, whatever. There's so many endless medical shows, right? Trust me, medicine is so different from what they show you in those shows. It's not that. It's very different. Um, so you go to the ER, or go work in an oncology unit or outpatient facility, and immerse yourself within that environment and see if your heart, if just place yourself, be like, can I see myself being this doctor? That's what I did. I'm working with this doctor. I'm like, do I see myself being this doctor in 10, 15 years? You know? And do I like this setting? Do I like taking care of people? So those are like some internal questions that I had to answer for myself. And the only way I could do it is by immersing myself in that environment. So even if Community Service Corps wasn't there, I see Gaspar shared the link. Thank you. I was gonna regardless just go to the hospital, like, hey, can I volunteer? And they have a volunteer program in my hospital. And I'm sure many hospitals within New York City they have. And then from there, I told you, internship wise, it could lead to so many things, so many different people, like just networking and communicating, will lead one thing to another, one thing to another. And LinkedIn is another great place. To be honest, like I was brought here because I believe Nicola, she reached out to me and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, really interesting. I'm in the middle of board studying and like this is really valuable time, but I could spare 1 hour for CUNY and the students in CUNY. So yeah, on LinkedIn, there's I also found my hospital hiring patient experience liaisons, the job I had in the patient experience department. So literally you could go on there and just like search for jobs too, and you'll find openings.
That's great, Mohammed. And then, so we've gotten a couple more questions in the chat, which I'm so happy to see. Leslie Cervantes asked, she said, that you had worked as a medical assistant. Did you need to get a medical assistant certificate in order to work in the field, or was there specific experience that helped you in order to land a job in that position?
Gotcha. That's a great question, Leslie. So I stayed at the same hospital for years, right? All through my undergrad, from freshman year to senior year, 4 years, and then post graduation too. Because I didn't go directly into med school. I had like a year and a half in between medical school and undergrad, so I still worked at the hospital at that time. So all those years, I build I know from the hospital CEO to like everyone down. Like when I was leaving, the CEO gave me a bag of like gifts, like and a goodbye post on his Instagram as well. Anyways, the point is networking. Over the years being in that same place, and like a hospital is a big institution and there's so many departments, so many people. I didn't have a medical to specifically answer your question. I didn't, but I knew the people. Like if I wanted to work in oncology department, I just had to go and speak to the oncology person or have someone on my behalf who knew me in the emergency department, or my manager. So like, hey, can you speak on my behalf? And boom, I would get the job pretty much. So that's the power of networking and having a good relationship with people. So I did not have a medical assistant certificate or anything. My hospital trained you on site. They give you like 2, 3 weeks of pair training. So like you'll be with another medical assistant and they'll teach you all the things that they do as all their roles as a medical assistant, and then you're on your own. But there are certificates that you have to pay for, and some places require that, but my hospital didn't.
That's great. No, and I do know for those of you who maybe aren't as brave and as outgoing as Mohammed is, and maybe you are a little bit slower to network, or a little more scared to, there's also some certification credentialing programs for medical assistants. I know that LaGuardia Community College has something, and there's others out there as well. A question from Lorianne Rosario. I'm a student at Bronx Community College in ASAP, and I wanted to know how to get into the field. As of right now, my major is digital design, which is my dream or ideal job, but I want to look into being a medical secretary. That's a good question. Not everybody might know what ASAP is, but that's a program with CUNY.
Yeah, thanks, Gaspar. That's a great question, Lorian. I actually went to Bronx Community College for 1 semester before I transferred to College of Staten Island, and I was introduced to ASAP there by one of my professors. It stands for Associated Studies, so Accelerated Studies and Associates Program. It's a great program. They pay for your MetroCard, they give you textbook money, they pay for your winter, summer classes. Like, I would not, like, ASAP was the best. I'm telling you, they gave you a dedicated advisor. You could early registration for classes. Even if you're a freshman, you get to register when the seniors are registering for classes. You get the best schedule, best professors. It's amazing. So I'm glad you're in ASAP. So you got to take advantage of that, Lorian. And speak to your advisor. I'm telling you, talk to your network, talk to people in your circle. They're gonna know. Digital design is I think it's cool. It's a cool major, and hopefully you'll get your ideal job one day. But in terms of being a medical secretary, I don't know what kind of setting you want to be in. You could be in a hospital setting or outpatient clinic setting. You can try if
I
you
was
want to be
thinking about being like in a clinic.
clinic. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would honestly just
or
if you know
like front desk.
front desk, okay. So if you're from the Bronx, yeah, medical secretary, hmm, maybe do a cold search on LinkedIn. And if you know any clinic within your area too, I would probably visit them and ask them. You're like, hey, are you guys hiring for a medical secretary, or do you know any clinic around here that could hire? I wish I knew of any. I could tell you. Um,
I've you'd be surprised. It might not be the best thing possible, but you can at least learn about your options. I know
mhm.
that Community Healthcare Network, CHN, they have a pretty good clinic presence with administrative roles, several locations around the city. You might think twice about it, but there's also City MD and other, urgent care locations. You never know. Even if it's just to start by looking it up online, that might start jogging some ideas and get you thinking about stuff.
I have one of my, sorry, Gaspar, go ahead.
No, you. I was about to transition to another question.
Sorry, no. I have one of my friends in front of me. His name is Addy. He's a PA student. I went to undergrad with him. We're actually like sitting here in the library and studying. So he told me like look at Indeed too. Indeed is a good place to look at as well. Indeed.com.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's a great question. And what else might I add is if any of you speak another language, New York City is a city of immigrants, but it's like even more so now. Like such a huge proportion of our population is foreign born, and it's also aging. So that's part of why healthcare as an industry is growing in the country, but also in the city. And the older population of immigrants, a lot of them don't speak English. So there's a clinic in my neighborhood where everybody speaks Spanish. So, just without a credential, if you speak Spanish and you have an associate's degree, you could probably go into a family clinic like that and just start talking to someone, and before you know it, have an opportunity to either volunteer or network with someone. So another question, well, actually, first off, Amelia de Jesus said that Common Point Queens has a free medical assistant certification program, and you can look more into it on their website. Thank you so much, Amelia, for that tip. And if you all discover these tips, while we're speaking and want to share them with one another, feel free to put them in the chat as well, so that people can click through, or of course, you all can do your own web search. Miguel Lopez, Miguel, I see that you're off camera, that you have your camera on. Do you want to ask your question out loud, or do you want me to ask it for you?
I can ask it.
Great. Maybe tell us
Yeah.
what school and what degree you're getting.
Yeah, sure. I'm currently a sophomore in Hunter College. I'm doing a degree in biochemistry, and the question I had was about your extracurriculars that you had in undergrad. But currently, right now, I'm a full-time medical assistant, and then juggling also full-time student at Hunter. And my question just is, how do you like? How are you able to juggle all these activities and then do school at the same time? Because I also plan to do research in the summer. And right now, I've been having this schedule for like 3 months already, and I can already feel like I can feel the burnout.
Miguel, I salute you, sir. Salute. Let me tell you, burnout is real.
Thank you.
Biochemistry is so hard. Hunter College is hard. There's a lot of toxic people around you. I'm sorry to tell you. I've been there. Pre-med is so cutthroat. Everyone's trying to get to med school. Your chances are like less than 1% or whatever the number is these days. One of my friends went to Berkeley or something for like a pre-med event to speak. And he's a med student too. And he told me there's like 2,000 people there. And he was like, he didn't realize how grateful, how fortunate, how blessed he is that he's in medical school until he went to that event to see how many kids are dying to be in med school. So to get there, unfortunately in the undergrad level, there's a lot of people, they'll, if they hear of an opportunity, they don't want to share it because they want to, put that on their resume and be this, that student who's standing out. And then in terms of grades too, classwork, no one wants to collaborate. That reminds me, it's all about collaboration. There's one podcast I always listen to. It's called, what do you call it? Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know. I used to listen to the pre-med years. Yes, that's what it's called. Literally, Dr. Gray is his name. He has a whole podcast on the pre-med years, like how to be a pre-med student, how to network, how to make yourself stand out for med school, how to avoid burnout. Great podcast series. The whole intricacy to the application cycle, how to do your interview well, how to prepare your application. I got literally like no one in my family went to college, first of all, to give you a background. So I never knew how to navigate college. No one went to medicine. If they didn't go to college, you got to finish undergrad, right? So I
Yeah,
have
that's me also.
Yeah. So so the pre-med years gave me so much structure, so much knowledge on all, like everything in terms of pre-med. And I would share with other students who like come from families of doctors, or like they have so many people around them who are physicians or medical students, and they're like, bro, how do you know all this stuff? I'm like, the pre-med year. I just literally every night when I go to sleep, I would play it and go to sleep. And this is gonna sound funny, I would envision myself being a med student or envision myself being a physician. And that's a powerful vision. Like just thinking about it, seeing that future is going to make it happen. And right now, like I'm sitting here studying for boards this morning. It's been hours and I'm like crying. I'm like, what do I do did to myself? Why am I here? I don't like all this. But I know this is like the whole, like the first 2 years of med school is rough. It's just endless lectures, endless studying, endless exams. Every week you have 2-3 exams, so much stress. But after that, it's like when you're actually seeing patients as a third year on rounds, on wards, doing all these different rotations. That's when things start clicking, and like all these 2 years of learning biochemistry, pathophysiology, and all these things start making sense. Wow. And like actually taking care of patients, then like you feel the reward of it. So definitely burnout, it's there. I'm telling you, I'm burnt out. I'm speaking to you burnt out. And unfortunately, and fortunately, there are things we can do, like I love to play basketball, snowboard, hang out with friends. I make it happen, you know. Sometimes it comes at the cost of cramming for an exam, but if it's for your mental health, for your well-being, do it, you know. And also talking about toxic students, don't be around them. Like when I started out as a pre-med and I started like talking to other pre-meds, you know, because you're gonna take similar classes. You're taking and biochemistry is so hard, man. I took biochemistry. First time I took it, I dropped it. I said, give me the W on my transcript. Give me the W. I'm not taking that C or D or B. I need the A. So when I'm more ready for biochemistry, I'm gonna come back and take it because it's a big portion of your MCAT, right? So I came back and I retook biochem. But talking about toxic students, that's the first thing I did in the beginning of my undergrad years. I ran from them because I was taking biology and chemistry, and you find them all, like all the pre-health students are in these classes because it's a core requirement for med school. And what med school does is also isolates all your science grades into one section to see how you performed in the hard science classes versus everything else, your English, psychology, and humanities or whatever.
Yeah, and self-care is definitely an important one. I like that Lorianne put that in the chat. Miguel, you know, remember, it's easier to forget things when you're stressed out and when you've got too much on your mind. Our psychology major here could probably say more about that. But the truth is, information sticks when you get good sleep, when you're able to really let information absorb and stick, and that's going to help with your testing. So, you know, career life is a marathon. So pace yourself, and you know, just like Lorianne wrote, self-care is important. So it's really good that you're chasing so much right now, but think about whether you want to balance things out for either next semester or for the summertime, so that maybe you're not doing as much. And then also, don't be scared to ask for help. Whoever's in your network, family, friends, etc. If there's someone who can help you with making sure that you have, I don't know, like a lunch break when you're studying or something like that, that goes a long way, even if it's just once a week or something like that. All right, so I promised Rose Katu that I would ask your question. Just a bit ago, you asked, as a health sciences major, what department can you volunteer in the hospital? Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if you know the answer to that, Mohammed?
Yeah, I do. I actually
You do? Okay.
Before we go to that, I just wanted to add one more thing to Miguel's question. Draw a timeline, Miguel. You're on your own timeline. Remember I said toxic students, everyone's trying, oh, you got to be at the age of 22, you got to be in med school. At the age of 27, you got to be attending doctor. You're on your own lifespan, timeline. Do you, like, if you're feeling overwhelmed because of you're doing research, you're working as a full-time medical assistant, you're taking full-time classes in college, it's okay to, you know, unload some of that burden. And plan out, you know, like this semester, I'm going to take XYZ classes, balance. All right, I'm going to balance it with a couple of easy classes, a couple of hard classes. I'm gonna, you know, and it's okay to finish undergrad in 5 years, 6 years. I don't know, you know, obviously many factors will influence it. So my main point is, just you're on your own timeline. Don't compare yourself to other people. And gap years is a tradition now. Before the norm was you go straight through undergrad, straight to med school, straight to doctor. But some of these doctors, they have no life experience. They're very young, they're very smart, but they have no bedside manner. They have no life experience. They don't have, you know, a way to connect with people. So I encourage gap years. I'm 28, by the way, and I'm second semester. I have students one student was in my class, 18 years old, 18, and then there's another one, 52. So that's med school for you. That's same class, and then everything in between. But going back to, I believe,
yeah, it was Rose Katu's question,
Rose
and I'm probably butchering her name. I'm so sorry to be doing that. You know, and I've got a funny name too, so I've got no leg to stand on. So one more time, the question was, as a health sciences major, what department can you volunteer in the hospital?
Honestly, any department, and the hospital won't, they won't ask you, oh, for a particular major to volunteer. You're giving them your time. and they would be appreciative of that. It doesn't matter, because I've worked with volunteers who are English majors, who are art majors, and they had some people no interest in healthcare. They just wanted to do something good with their time.
That's great, and that there's been a few other tips that you all have shared in the chat. Amelia talked about wrote about how she's in Hunter as well, majoring in human biology, currently thinking of going to PA school. My friend did that, and took AP1 and received a D. I'm planning on e-permitting both AP1 and 2 now. Do you think e-permitting will impact how programs look at my grades? I apologize. I don't know what that means, so I can't ask a clarifying question or anything like that. Hopefully that's good enough for you, Mohammed.
Sure. Yeah, I understood that. AP stands for anatomy and physiology. I have Addy here. He's in PA school right now. I mean, at the end of the day, the heart, the bread and butter of medicine is anatomy and physiology. If you don't understand physiology, like we go in depth in physiology, that's medicine. You're not going to understand pathophysiology and biochemistry, and everything, builds off of that. But obviously, at the undergrad level, anatomy and physiology isn't as deep as in med school. But sometimes, unfortunately, professors, I'll be honest with you, I've been there. They're very, very hard. It's like they had a hard life experience or hard undergrad. They want to make your life hard too. And that's really sad. Really, really sad. I've come across professors like that in my career, undergrad career. So I e-permitted. I did for organic chemistry. And I believe it or not, I don't use any organic chemistry in med school. Very minimal physics concepts. The most is like, oh, you have a blood vessel here. Blood is flowing this way. Now all of a sudden it hits a wall. Where is the blood going to go? Like that's going to go up or down wherever it bifurcates, right? This is the blood vessel, right? It constricts. What happens to the pressure? It's like that's the level of physics we're using. But physics is so hard. It literally destroys people. So if you can't e-permit, go e-permit to an easy professor, get that easy grade. But that doesn't mean not to work hard. Yeah, work hard, understand your anatomy and physiology. But if you need to escape some hard professor who's known, it's like below their dignity to give out A's, unfortunately. I went to John Jay, e-permitted, did my orgos there, got great grades, learned some orgo to do great in the class. Guess what? Don't use any of it in med school. So do what you have to do. And PA school is a good choice, good career choice too. Go for it. It's shorter, less tuition. You're a mid-level provider. You won't have all these loose lawsuits coming at you. It's going to come at me and all the other physicians who's going to be signing off on everything. So, and yeah, it's a much needed field. So go for it.
That's great.
I don't think e-permit's going to hurt your application. I've done it. I'm in med school. Sorry.
All good, and that's such helpful specific tips. So really great question, Amelia. Specific question. So quick time check. It's 3:40. We've got just under 7 or 8 minutes left for our breakout room, and there's been a few other good questions that I'm happy to see. Jennifer Navarrete asked, "How do you become a volunteer at a hospital? Who should you ask?"
Sure. Specifically at my hospital, at Staten Island University Hospital, we have a whole department for the volunteer department. Tony is her name. She runs the whole department. I honestly, like, when I volunteered initially, I went through College of Staten Island, that CUNY Service Corps program. So CUNY paid me at it. It was like an internship / volunteer opportunity. So they put me in the hospital. So I was a volunteer, but also a CUNY intern at the same time. So I was getting paid. This internship was paid too. So I was getting paid by CUNY, not by the hospital. But that gave me the opportunity to meet other volunteers who wasn't from CUNY or who was just volunteering. We had there's multiple people who are retired. They want to do something with their time. They were volunteering too. So I would just go to see, and most hospitals would have a volunteer department, especially if you're up in the Bronx, Montefiore, Einstein. And these are great institutions. They're all teaching hospitals. They have medical students constantly, residents, undergrad students doing research there, volunteering. So go to just Google volunteer department Montefiore or Einstein, and I'm sure you'll find something.
That's a great tip. So Joa Joseph asked, I'm pursuing a master's degree as a physician assistant. I'm currently in my second semester. I have an internship in the healthcare field this summer. What advice would you give me as I continue this path?
As a second year physician student, Addie, you want to say something? You're a second year physician student.
Maybe we
What advice does he have for a summer internship? Honestly,
maybe we put a pin in that one.
huh?
We could put a pin in that one if your friend wants to come back to you about it, if he wants to think on it for a moment.
Back to it? Yeah, he'll come back to it.
Okay. So yeah, we'll see if Mohammed's friend can tell us what advice he has for Joa Joseph in pursuing physician assistant. So Marielle Collin, hello. I'm currently a public health major and a second degree student. I'm currently thinking of applying to physical therapy. My question is, I have a CCMA certificate, but been having a hard time finding a position at a clinic or a hospital because I lack work experience. Do you have any recommendations to help me combat this? Great question.
Yeah, no, that is, sometimes it's just putting your feet through that door. Honestly, going back to the, like, I've been harping on volunteering, because to me, like, it opened up so many doors. Yeah, like it's so unfortunate. You're certified, but it's hard for you to find a position. I would, I don't know if you're from the Bronx or any of the major, I mean, the 5 boroughs. We have big facilities, you know, like New York Presbyterian, Einstein, Mount Sinai. Especially if you're certified, these bigger institutions, they actually require the certifications. And I'm almost sure there's always a need for medical assistance. If not in the hospital or one of their outpatient facilities.
If I could add something, I think a lot of the time job descriptions might say specific requirements, but the hiring managers aren't holding that tight to them. I know that New York Presbyterian is looking for CCMAs today. So, you know, that's probably a good example of it. Don't let the applicant, you know, it can be scary to apply for something where you're like, I don't think I'm qualified. But what's the worst that happens? You don't get a call back, you don't get an email back. But if you do, maybe it's an opportunity to practice interviewing, even if it's just a phone interview. All right, I've been told that we have time for one more question. So we might get cut off before we fully get through it. But Tasmia Shomir asked, I graduated with a BA in biochemistry and a psych minor in December from Hunter. During undergrad, I had no research experience, and I feel like it's holding me back right now as I am applying to jobs as an alum. Do you have recommendations on how I can stand out when applying to research or lab positions? Or should I expand and apply to other positions, although I would like a science-related position?
Honestly, Tasmia, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Do what you're passionate about. That's one great advice I got from Dr. Gray, that pre-med years guy. Because at the end of the day, managers hiring folks, med school, wherever you're applying to, they want to see authentic you. You're doing things that you truly care about, that you're passionate about, and you're not doing something to just check a box, or like, oh, this might make me look good or stand out. In terms of applying to, if you're really interested in research and lab positions, maybe reach out to some of those professors who taught you biochemistry, who taught you biology, and a lot of them do research. If not at Hunter, at other institutions. Like one of my professors, he's a neuroscience professor. He does research here at the College of Staten Island. He also does research at the Basic Institute of BRI, right across. There's another facility across our campus. He does research there as well. And just linking with him linked me to a whole lot of other professors that are also doing research. So reach out to some of your professors. And if they're not doing research, or sometimes the lab doesn't have enough space for another person, like, oh, we have so many projects, we have so many students, we can't take anymore. they can point you to another lab that might need someone that could, use you in your expertise.
That's
So
great.
yeah,
And I think we're probably just about to get pulled into the main room. I just want to take the opportunity to thank you, Mohammed.
of course.
I've really enjoyed this. I hope that everybody who attended enjoyed this. And I hope you were right in choosing this room instead of the other ones, because I think that Mohammed and I are the best, and that you all are as well.
All right. Take care, everyone. Nice meeting y'all.